You were born to be the master of your emotions, not the slave of the world's provocations. But every day, something tests your patience, an unexpected criticism, a challenging look, words meant to hurt, or situations designed to push you out of control. And every time you take the bait, responding with anger, frustration, or anxiety, you hand over your power. But what if none of that was enough to shake you? Imagine walking through any crisis with the calm of someone who already knows they've won, even before the battle begins. That is the strength the Stoics cultivated, to act as if nothing could disturb them. Not because they were pretending to be indifferent, but because they had mastered their own minds. That mental training placed them above any provocation. Today, I'm going to show you how to adopt an unshakable attitude, one that intimidates, earns respect, and gives you absolute control over yourself. And your first step is simple. Say it out loud. Today, I choose to keep my power. Even if you've never done it before, declare it now. Because when you learn to remain calm in the middle of chaos, not only does your reaction change, the entire course of your life changes. So before we begin, I ask one thing: like, share, and subscribe. That way, this message can reach more people who are also searching for clarity. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Build an emotional armor against disappointment. No matter who you are or how much you prepare, there will be moments when things don't go as expected. A plan falls apart, an opportunity slips away, a promise is broken. And this is where many people collapse, as if one setback defined their worth or sealed their future. But it's not like that. Disappointment is not a life sentence, it's information. It's data showing that something didn't work, not that you are incapable. The problem is that most of us were trained to confuse results with identity. I failed, therefore I am a failure. That toxic association drains motivation and traps you in the cycle of self-criticism. Training your immunity to disappointment begins with changing that perception. When something doesn't go as planned, repeat to yourself, "This is information, not a condemnation." That simple phrase rewires your reaction. More importantly, it reminds you that your job is not to punish yourself, but to learn. Think of the greatest inventors, athletes, and leaders in history. They failed more times than they succeeded. The difference was that they didn't stay stuck in the blow. They analyzed, adjusted, and tried again. Every mistake was another piece of the puzzle, not a signal to give up. In Stoicism, external events are neutral. It is the judgment we place on them that gives them meaning. If you decide to see disappointment as a teacher, it ceases to be an enemy. This doesn't mean you won't feel frustration, sadness, or even anger. But instead of staying trapped in those emotions, you transform them into fuel for action and learning. The faster you move from emotional shock to analysis, the less time you lose, and the stronger you become. Create this habit. When something goes wrong, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What was different from what I expected? 2. What depends on me that I can improve? 3. What will I do differently next time? Answering these questions turns the setback into a lesson, and the lesson into strategy. That's the difference between those who recover and those who sink. A large part of disappointment comes from expecting the world to act according to your script. But life doesn't exist to meet your expectations. Accepting that truth drastically reduces the chances of disappointment. Picture your mind like a muscle. Each time you face bad news and choose to learn instead of lament, you are lifting weight. At first it feels heavy, but over time your tolerance grows. A moment comes when a fall no longer knocks you down. It only pushes you toward your next step. Remember, disappointment is not the end. It's a filter. If you fell today, get up, adjust, and continue. Because true defeat is not failure. It's deciding that it's not worth trying again. Your worth does not change because something went wrong. What changes is your experience, your perspective, and your strength if you choose to learn. That is your advantage. Every disappointment you overcome makes you more resilient, wiser, and much harder to stop. Lesson 2. Defend your image and attitude in any situation. You can't control everything people think or say about you. There will always be criticism, misunderstandings, or outright attempts to belittle you. If you waste your life trying to correct every opinion or chase every rumor, you'll end up exhausted, and worse, you'll be giving away your power to others. The Stoics knew that your true reputation isn't built on words, it's built on consistency of character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your judgment of them, and it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now." That means the image you project to the world doesn't come from defending yourself constantly. It comes from holding your ground calmly. When someone attacks you with words, your reaction reveals more than their insult ever could. If you respond with rage, you validate them. If you fall into despair, you show they've gotten under your skin. But if you stay calm, measured, and dignified, you send a powerful message. You cannot shake me. Think of a stone statue in the middle of a storm. The wind blows, the rain falls, the lightning strikes, but the statue stands. That's the image you want to embody. Someone who doesn't crumble when others try to test your limits. This doesn't mean you allow disrespect. Stoicism isn't submission. It's about choosing your battles with intelligence. Instead of defending yourself against every little comment, let your actions speak louder. Instead of explaining yourself to everyone, live in such a way that your example silences them. Seneca said, "A man of virtue does not need a defense. His life is his best defense." That's the essence. Your attitude is your shield. Here's a practice. The next time someone criticizes or provokes you, don't rush to reply. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, does this really require a response, or is silence my best answer? Most of the time, silence is more powerful than words because it leaves the other person wrestling with their own noise. But when a response is necessary, deliver it with composure, firm, clear, but without losing control. That balance will make you stand out as someone untouchable, someone others cannot manipulate with emotions. Your image isn't protected by arguing. It's protected by consistency. When your daily actions, values, and discipline are unshakable, no rumor can truly destroy you. So write this as a principle. My attitude is my defense. Because in the end, people may doubt what you say, but they can't ignore how you carry yourself. Lesson 3. Master the art of strategic indifference. One of the Stoics' greatest strengths was their ability to remain indifferent to what did not truly matter. But let's be clear. Indifference here does not mean apathy or carelessness. It means the intelligence to distinguish between what deserves your attention and what doesn't. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, don't waste energy defending yourself from the opinions of those who don't truly affect your life. Most people are prisoners of the need for approval. A single negative comment, a rumor, or a dismissive look is enough to throw off their entire day. That's exactly what makes them easy to control. If someone can trigger you with a word, they own your peace of mind. Strategic indifference is your shield. It's the ability to say, this doesn't deserve me, this doesn't define me, this doesn't move me. Think of your attention as currency. Every time you get upset over a meaningless provocation, you are spending from your limited supply of focus and energy. And the worst part is, you're handing that energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the essence of indifference, choosing not to hand over your mind to external noise. Now, does this mean ignoring everything? Not at all. It means classifying wisely. If something threatens your integrity or your loved ones, act. If something is just noise, gossip, or empty provocation, discard it. A powerful way to practice this is through deliberate pause. The next time something irritates you, before reacting, ask, will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter in a week? Will this matter in a year? If the answer is no, you've just saved yourself from unnecessary chains. Indifference also disarms manipulators. Many people provoke not to hurt you, but to test your control. When they see you react, they know where your buttons are. But when you respond with calm silence, you become unreadable and therefore untouchable. This is why Stoic indifference is not coldness, it's strategy. It's knowing that not every battle deserves your sword, and not every comment deserves your voice. So write this as a personal standard. I will not waste energy on what does not add to my life, because real strength is not being hardened, it's being selective. Lesson 4. Control the only thing that is truly yours, your mind. The Stoics were clear. Everything external, wealth, status, health, even relationships, can be taken away. The only thing that truly belongs to you and that no one can steal is your mind. If you lose control over it, you've lost everything. But if you master it, you can endure anything. Epictetus put it bluntly, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself has the power to break my freedom of choice." That is the essence of Stoic power, the unshakable conviction that while others may control your circumstances, only you decide how to interpret and respond to them. Think about it. Most suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from how you interpret them. An insult is just sound waves, but if you judge it as an attack, you feel wounded. A delay is just time passing, but if you call it unbearable, you suffer. Control of the mind means you refuse to let external events dictate your inner state. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice how he didn't say, "Control outside events." He knew that was impossible. Strength lies in shifting the focus inward, where true control resides. But how do you train this mastery? The Stoics used two key practices. 1. Awareness of judgment. When something happens, pause and ask, is this event bad, or am I labeling it as bad? That small space between stimulus and judgment is where your freedom begins. 2. Choosing the response. Instead of reacting automatically, decide, what response reflects my values? What keeps me in control? That deliberate choice turns chaos into discipline. This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. Stoics didn't deny feelings. They learned not to be ruled by them. Anger may arise, fear may appear, sadness may visit, but none of them get to sit in the driver's seat unless you allow it. Think of your mind as a fortress. If you leave the gates open, any invader, gossip, insult, fear, desire, can walk in and take control. But if you guard it with awareness and discipline, you remain sovereign. Here's a practice. The next time you feel provoked, repeat to yourself, "This is outside me, my judgment is mine." That reminder cuts the chain that ties your peace to external events. Write this as your foundation, "My mind is my kingdom." Because once you govern your inner world, no external world can overthrow you. Lesson 5. The power of responding with calm instead of anger. Anger is one of the most destructive forces in human life. It blinds, enslaves, and pushes people to say or do things they later regret. For the Stoics, anger was never a sign of strength. It was proof of weakness, of having lost control over yourself. Seneca wrote an entire work called On Anger, where he warned, "There is no more destructive passion than anger. It is the most hideous and frenzied of all emotions." Why? Because in anger you stop being guided by reason and become a slave to impulse. Think about the damage caused by one moment of rage, friendships broken, opportunities lost, even lives destroyed. Anger promises justice, but delivers chaos. The Stoic alternative isn't repressing anger, it's transforming it. Instead of letting it control you, you turn it into clarity and strength. Calm is not passivity, it is power under control. Marcus Aurelius advised himself, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, if someone insults you, don't lower yourself to their level. If someone provokes you, don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. Your calm is your victory. Here's the paradox. People often think calm makes you vulnerable, but in reality, nothing unsettles an aggressor more than a person who refuses to react with rage. When you stay composed, you take away their weapon. They expected you to explode. When you don't, their strategy fails. This doesn't mean you tolerate injustice or disrespect. Calmness doesn't mean silence forever. It means that when you do respond, you do it with precision and intelligence, not with blind fury. A calm response carries more weight than 1,000 angry words. Practice this. The next time anger rises, don't deny it. Notice it. Breathe. Tell yourself, "I am not my anger. I choose my response." Even a short pause can be enough to shift from impulse to reason. Seneca suggested imagining the face of an angry person, distorted, out of control, almost unrecognizable. Ask yourself, do I want to look like that? That image alone is often enough to stop you from giving in. Write this as your principle. Calm is my true strength. Because while anger consumes, calm builds. While anger enslaves, calm frees. And while anger makes you predictable, calm makes you untouchable. Lesson 6. Choose battles worth fighting. Not every provocation deserves your energy. Not every conflict deserves your attention. One of the wisest forms of strength is knowing when to fight and when to simply walk away. The Stoics were very clear about this. Life is short, and your energy is limited. If you spend it on every little insult, every minor disagreement, every attempt to prove you're right, you'll waste yourself on trivialities instead of investing in what truly matters. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks badly of you, defend yourself only if your reputation demands it. Otherwise, ignore it." In other words, not every attack requires a response. The question is, does responding serve your values, or does it just serve your ego? Think of a lion. If a small dog barks at it, the lion doesn't waste its strength fighting back. Why? Because the lion knows who it is. It doesn't need to prove its power to every creature that makes noise. But when a real threat appears, the lion acts swiftly and decisively. That's how you must be: selective, strategic, measured. Here's the rule. If a battle threatens your integrity, your principles, or the well-being of those you love, it's worth fighting. But if it's just noise, if it's just ego, if it's just someone trying to drag you down, it's not worth even a second of your peace. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You always have the option of having no opinion. Things are not disturbed themselves. Disturbance comes from within." Imagine how free you would be if you stopped needing to weigh in on everything, stopped needing to be right all the time. Choosing battles wisely doesn't make you weak, it makes you unstoppable. Because instead of scattering your energy across 1,000 meaningless conflicts, you concentrated on the few things that truly shape your destiny. Here's a practice. The next time someone provokes you, ask yourself, 1. Does this really matter in the bigger picture? 2. Will my response improve the situation or just feed the fire? 3. Am I protecting my values or just defending my pride? If the answer points to ego, walk away. That act of restraint is not cowardice, it is mastery. Write this principle down. I fight only where it matters. Because your strength isn't measured by how often you fight, but by how wisely you choose when to act. Lesson 7. Train yourself to be unpredictable. Predictability is a weakness. When others know exactly how you will react, they can control you. If they know you always explode with anger, they'll provoke you. If they know you always seek approval, they'll manipulate you. If they know your fears, they'll use them against you. That's why the Stoics cultivated composure, not only as self-mastery but also as strategy. By refusing to react in the expected way, you make yourself unreadable, untouchable. Epictetus taught, "When someone provokes you, remember that it is your judgment that provokes you. If your reactions are automatic, you're a puppet pulled by strings. But when you train yourself to pause, reflect, and sometimes respond in unexpected ways, you cut those strings." Think of a chess player. If the opponent always makes obvious moves, they're easy to defeat. But when they become unpredictable, the opponent is forced to respect them, to tread carefully, to never know what's coming. That's the position of power you must build in your daily life. This doesn't mean being erratic or inconsistent with your values. Your principles remain steady, but your reactions are chosen, not imposed. Sometimes silence will be your answer, sometimes calm words, sometimes firm action. What matters is that no one can guess in advance and control you with ease. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That includes not letting others map your behavior. If they can predict you, they can own you. If they cannot, they're forced to respect you. Here's how to practice unpredictability wisely. 1. Pause before reacting. The pause itself already breaks patterns. 2. Vary your responses. Don't always give anger, don't always give silence. Choose based on what preserves your power. 3. Keep your motives private. Not everyone deserves to know what you're thinking. The result is that people stop seeing you as easy prey. They realize they can't push your buttons because you've taken the buttons away. And when they don't know what to expect, they approach you with caution and even admiration. Write this as a reminder. I will be guided by principle, not by predictability. Because your true strength is not in reacting, it's in choosing. Lesson 8. Build inner authority that commands respect. Respect is not demanded, it is earned. And the deepest, most lasting form of respect doesn't come from titles, money, or threats. It comes from inner authority, from the way you carry yourself, from the invisible weight of your presence. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, but his true authority didn't come from the crown on his head. It came from the discipline of his character. He ruled himself first, and that's why he could rule others. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." True authority begins when you are no longer enslaved by your own desires, impulses, or fears. When people see that you cannot be bought, shaken, or manipulated easily, they respect you, even if they disagree with you. Think about the difference. A boss who screams to be obeyed is feared, not respected. A leader who speaks little but acts with consistency commands silence when they enter the room. That's inner authority. It's not about volume, it's about gravity. So how do you cultivate it? The Stoics practiced 3 things. 1. Consistency of principles. If you change your values depending on who's watching, people won't trust you. But if your actions align with your words over time, even your enemies will respect you. 2. Mastery of emotion. The one who controls their temper, desires, and fears becomes a reference point for others. Your calm becomes contagious, your discipline undeniable. 3. Simplicity. The Stoics lived with little, showing that they were not slaves to possessions. That freedom gave their words more weight, because they weren't speaking out of self-interest. Inner authority is not flashy, it's subtle. It's the steady gaze that doesn't flinch, the silence that doesn't need to explain itself, the calm that holds more power than 1,000 shouts. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. That is the secret. Respect doesn't come from demanding recognition, it comes from living in such a way that recognition is inevitable. Write this as your guiding principle. I will rule myself and respect will follow. Because when you carry authority within, the world reflects it without. Lesson 9. Cultivate the art of imperturbability. The Stoics had a word for this state, ataraxia, a calm so steady that nothing external can disturb it. It doesn't mean nothing ever touches you. It means nothing ever controls you. Most people live like leaves in the wind, tossed around by every change in weather. If someone praises them, they feel valuable. If someone criticizes them, they feel worthless. If things go well, they're euphoric. If things go badly, they collapse. Their peace is always rented out to the world, but imperturbability is different. It's the ability to stay centered, regardless of the storm outside. Seneca said, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." Why? Because anxiety is simply surrendering your peace to things you can't control. When you cultivate imperturbability, you don't stop caring. You stop being ruled. You still feel emotions, but you don't let them drag you into chaos. You still plan, but you don't cling to outcomes. You walk through life like a ship with a strong anchor. The waves move, but you don't drift. Here's the key. Imperturbability is built through practice, not wishful thinking. The Stoics trained themselves daily with reminders such as, "This too shall pass." What depends on me? What doesn't? Nothing external can rob me of my reason. Each time you face adversity, you have two options: collapse or anchor. And every time you choose to anchor, your imperturbability grows. Think about how powerful this makes you. If insults don't move you, if difficulties don't break you, if praise doesn't corrupt you, you become free. You're no longer a leaf in the wind, you're the tree itself. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. In his meditations, he wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." So here's a practice. When something shakes you, don't react immediately. Instead, breathe and say to yourself, "This is outside of me. I remain centered." That short affirmation rewires your brain to protect your peace. Write this as your principle. Nothing outside me can disturb my inner fortress. Because the world will always be unstable, but you don't have to be. Lesson 10. Live as if nothing could truly disturb you. This is the ultimate Stoic lesson, to move through life with the unshakable serenity of someone who knows their peace cannot be stolen. Not because the world has stopped being chaotic, but because you've stopped giving it permission to own you. Imagine this. Insults arrive, and you smile calmly. Problems appear, and you act without despair. Losses come, and you accept them without collapsing. That doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel without being enslaved. Epictetus taught, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." The world will always bring challenges, but your interpretation determines whether they crush you or strengthen you. Living as if nothing could truly disturb you doesn't mean pretending life is easy. It means standing so firmly in your principles that no storm can uproot you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock against which the waves break, and it stands firm, while the raging of the sea falls still around it." That's the image you must carry, not fragile glass that shatters, but stone that resists. Here's the paradox. When you stop fearing disturbances, life actually disturbs you less. People sense your composure and stop wasting energy trying to provoke you. Problems shrink in size when you stop feeding them with panic, and instead of chasing control, you embody it. To live this way, adopt 3 habits. 1. Daily reflection. Remind yourself each morning, "I will face difficulty today, but none of it can touch my reason unless I allow it." 2. Detach from outcomes. Do your best, but don't tie your peace to results. The effort is yours. The outcome belongs to fate. 3. Practice calm in small things. If you train yourself not to be disturbed by minor irritations, you'll be ready when bigger storms come. Write this final truth as your creed. Nothing can disturb me unless I grant it power. Because when you live as if nothing could truly unsettle you, you discover the greatest freedom of all. the freedom of a soul that no one can chain.